This week in WordPress, 3 articles caught my eye. I sent them ahead of time to Tammy so that she could read them and we could talk about them. Article number 1, freelance work versus a salary job, the pros and cons. So this was an article written on Envato. It's actually business.tutsplus.com, but it's part of Envato Tuts. And I really like this article. I thought it had a lot of cool stuff to say. But Tammy, I'll let you go ahead and lead since you said you had some stuff you want to talk about. What did you think when you first read this article?
Well, I thought it was basic information about the pros and cons. I think that we have entered a different time where we don't really, some of us don't have an option now, whether we get to choose, whether we get to work freelance or for salary.
Yeah, I remember when I first started freelancing, I was taking some clients on, and one of the clients was like, he was just asking me general information about myself, and I think at the time I was like 22, 23, something like that. It's pretty young. And he was appalled. He's like, I can't believe you're consulting at this young age. And he's like, typically people go through like years of work and then they become a consultant, and this is so backwards to me. I was like, dude, you realize I don't have a choice in the matter. I'm just trying to pay my bills like everybody else. Like, I'm a freelancer because there are no real jobs right now. This was actually shortly after this is probably 2009 or something like that. So I'm like, you realize that if you want this kind of work done right now, it's going to be freelance.
Right.
But so what are some of the things that you have found beneficial about freelance work or salaried work? I mean, I guess either one.
I've had both of them. For the most part, freelancing has afforded me the opportunity to homeschool and
nice.
be flexible. We've moved to Las Vegas and moved back to Florida. The whole time I've been able to keep my business. I've also been able to scale back when needed. I've taken some time where we just kind of manage the clients that we have and not taking any new ones. So okay. I like the fact that if I set a goal from year to year, how much I want to earn, how busy I want to be, or do I want to take some time off, I still have that flexibility. And as I was speaking to about the state of things today, many people are working like many different part-time jobs, trying to scrape up, I guess, a decent salary, and they really should consider freelancing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's I think is interesting because there used to be this assumption that if you wanted to make decent money, and you don't already have a huge collection of experience or years of experience. That you need to get a salary job because they're going to pay you, salary, benefits, all this stuff. But really, I mean, today the salary jobs are not always that great. I mean, some of them are really good. Some of them are still really good. But I mean, I think a lot of times, unless you're in very specific industries, getting on the payroll doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a better wage. I mean, there are some cases in which, I actually considered going off of freelance for a while. This is before I started working with Elegant Themes, and the option of getting a job in my neighborhood or in my city or freelancing was a difference between, is cutting half my freelance pay to take a quote unquote secure salary job. So it's like you said, I think the game has fundamentally changed when it comes to these two dynamics.
Yes, and especially if you're working a salary job, you're usually putting in a lot more than 40 hours per week, and you're not really getting paid for it.
Yeah. So, whereas if you're freelancing, if you can create systems and become efficient enough, you can actually get paid significantly more for quite a bit less time on the job, just more valuable work, which is really great too. I know that's a big plus, big bonus of being freelance is you kind of get to control your own productivity in that sense.
Yes. And I guess with the freelancing, it's just really been a big plus for my lifestyle choice. And I could never trade it. I like the flexibility of being able to make decisions and go wherever I'd like to go. Our family is a little different from a lot of the people in our family. My husband's a professor. My two children are at home, so sometimes we're all at home at the same time working.
Hmm.
So it's been a really good environment, raising a family and freelancing at the same time.
You know, one of the things that I think is a challenge, and they mentioned this in the article to people who are freelancing, is just a sense of isolation.
Mhm.
What have you found a way to cope with that? I mean, I know for myself, it's been building friendships and relationships with other bloggers or other people in sort of my niche. Have you done the same thing?
I've recently started doing that in the past year and a half, but I think because of my family life and homeschooling, it's kind of part of my day as well. I
Mm,
have not had the need or the
that's true.
feeling of being
You've had your family around
isolated.
you.
Yes, I constantly have things going on, but this year I started to get involved with a co-working environment
Oh,
here in
cool.
town,
Yeah.
which has been really great. And we meet up every Friday, all the creative professionals and developers. Also, too, Divi, just being a part of the Divi community has really changed, made me feel more inclusive. And I have a new community. It's almost like having coworkers.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the number of people who talk to each other on the Facebook groups and the blog comments and the forums, it's really awesome to see. I mean, the Facebook groups are particularly active because I think Facebook's just such a good community tool that it
Hmm.
really facilitates these conversations, but the connections are, I mean, they're instantaneous. I mean, you get on there, you leave a comment, you write a post, you submit a link, and the discussion is immediate. So it's really, and the communities are big enough, thankfully, that really it's like any time that you're on there, wherever you're at in the
Hmm.
world, somebody else is on there and they're
Right.
ready to engage with you. And they're either ready to, talk about what you want to talk about or give you some, advice on a problem you're having or some critique on a new website that you launch. I mean, it
Hmm.
really is encouraging, and I think it's been one of the most fun aspects of doing this podcast is I get to interact with those communities a lot now. um,
Yes.
I'm hoping in fact that I can structure next season to have more time during the week to hang out in those communities, because now I'm spending so much time writing and researching and doing the
Hmm.
production work and editing that I have to hit these deadlines, and I'm really looking forward to maybe spending some more time in those communities, just like getting to know everybody. Thankfully, this
Yes.
podcast is, I get a lot of time with a few individuals, but I'd like to get more, small touch time with a lot of people, which would be really cool.
Hmm.
I think we could jump to the next article. Article number 2, 4 freelancing mistakes that are costing you cash and how to avoid them. So this is an article that was published on WPMUdev.org, and it was by Rachel McCollin. And the 4 mistakes are as follows. Mistake number 1, undercharging. Mistake number 2, no contracts. Mistake number 3, no project brief. And mistake number 4, no deposit. Have you made these mistakes?
I have made almost all of them.
Same here.
The one thing that I've never made was the no deposit. I have
Oh,
always
okay.
been adamant about not starting a project without getting a deposit.
Yeah.
But I have made the others. I think that a natural, it's a
Yeah.
natural part of being a freelancer, not understanding your worth
Mm-hmm.
and the undercharging part until you've experienced what it's like to be knee deep in a project and you can't afford help because you didn't
Right.
charge enough.
Yeah.
I think that's enough of a lesson to learn that you must charge more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm learning more and more every day that it's not enough just to charge to cover your business expenses and your salary. You have to look at what the project or the product or service that
Yeah.
you're providing is, what the value is.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you start to get a lot more experience, they have to you have to charge for all of that experience. It makes you more effective. I mean, more efficient when producing.
Yeah, I think that's been
Uh,
something that's kind of come up over and over again on the podcast is, trying to help people overcome the fear of, I don't know what it is, charging too much, of being seen
mhm.
as someone who has an overinflated sense of their own worth or their work.
Yes.
Whatever that is, whatever that fear is, I think the most successful people in the community are the ones who have found a way to mediate it. if not just get past it altogether. Um, and that's definitely part of it, is just, recognizing that just because you're covering your expenses doesn't mean you're charging enough. And
Exactly.
we've actually talked about this quite a bit, including, going over or revisiting a blog post that I wrote a while back on elegant themes, the general pricing guide for WordPress websites. And so I think this is a pretty well-trodden area, but I always like to reiterate that point because people really need to realize the value of their work and what they're doing. And as a baseline, this is something that, again, we've gone over quite a few times, but as a baseline, if you're not charging more than it costs someone to DIY their own self-hosted WordPress website, you definitely got to raise those rates.
Yes. And I've been guilty of, I guess I have a soft heart. I have a soft heart. So that, coupled with my desire to see other people start businesses, it's like one of the
Right.
one things that I'm extremely passionate about. I think everyone should have a business.
Yeah.
And when people approach me, because I want them to have it so bad, it's easy for me to lower the price for them and, I guess concern myself with how much this is going to cost them.
Yeah.
So it's taken me a lot of years to get over that, not wanting something bad enough or more than that person wants it. So
Right. Right. I think, that's perfect, because I think there's times in my career so far where I see the potential in someone's idea, or I see how I would execute it if I were in their shoes, and I get all excited about it. But I have to realize that, okay, this is their thing. I'm hired to do what I do as a service to them, and I need to
Yes.
kind of let my involvement be limited to that scope. I don't need to take on all the burden of
yes.
their responsibilities.
Yes,
Or
because early on I used to get very invested emotionally.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's good, but you have to learn how to rein yourself in for sure.
Yes. In other words, you need to stay focused. Being able to center yourself back to your own business could only make it better for you to provide better services.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to rein that in.
Absolutely. Let's jump to the third and final article. This is actually a podcast episode. We've featured a few of these so far in This Week in WordPress. This is from Rainmaker.fm, and this is a show called Hack the Entrepreneur. And the podcast host is John Naster. So this episode was called Why You Need to Start Before You're Ready. Did you get a chance to listen to this?
I did. I enjoyed that. As a matter of
Yeah?
fact, I think I'll listen to more.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of the Rainmaker stuff's pretty good. Without diving into all the details, because I want people to be able to listen to it if that's what they want to do. So I don't want to rehash every aspect of it, but just to riff on the theme, why you need to start before you're ready. Is that something that you found in your own experience was important to your success? Is, just getting over the idea or getting over the inclination to have everything perfect or be an expert before you get started? Was that something that you needed to do or that you did?
Always. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like there's never a moment when I have to be thrusted into a situation that I don't feel ready for. I think if I would never be ready.
Yeah.
Some people would never be ready. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to just jump in. I say with a guarded, you need to have some preparation, not like completely jump into the water, but at some point you have to pull the trigger on whatever the idea is and move forward. And a lot of times you work it out along the way. As a matter of fact, when I first started being interested in becoming an entrepreneur, I was told I was too young. I think the earliest age was about 18, and people have an idea in their mind of what an entrepreneur is. Someone is college educated, maybe an MBA, and like you mentioned before, having been at a large corporation for a while, learned from their peers. But I say anyone should start a business. I love to watch children start businesses. And since I've been homeschooling, I've been encouraging my daughters to start businesses. As a matter of fact, I just finished the website for a 15-year-old.
Oh, wow. What was that about?
That really excites me. She makes jewelry, and I'm not sure how far she wants to go with this. I'm not even sure if this is her life's plan, but it could never hurt
Well, sure,
to start
yeah.
getting business experience at 15, So
That's
That's very
awesome.
exciting to me.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think when I was a kid, I always thought it was so interesting that you could do something and make money. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like if I just do
Hmm.
X, I get money. That's interesting. Wonder how I could manipulate that equation, that basic equation,
Yes.
and if you catch the bug, it can be quite addicting. I think finding a way to do that that's also fulfilling for you in a number of other levels as you get
Hmm.
older is also huge. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that here in
Yes.
the main segment. So let's sign off for This Week in WordPress. So
Okay.
that is all for this edition of This Week in WordPress. If you're interested in reading the articles that we discussed, YouTube viewers can check the video description for links, and everyone else can find the show notes on our blog. Just go to the community category in the right-hand sidebar at elegantthemes.com/blog and check out the post for Divi Nation episode 14. Don't forget, if you're watching this video on YouTube or Facebook, take a moment to subscribe, follow, like, and/or share.